If you are a B2B service-based business and you are looking to gain clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, to amplify your marketing message with Campbell Rapin. This week, we're going to take you through to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making that convert consistency well on the inside. Welcome back, everybody. Have you ever felt like you were winning in so many ways on paper, and yet behind the scenes in real life, you hear a different story? Well, I think it's so important when we are looking to mentors and people in services that we want to hire, that we actually see a win across the board. And winning more often, frequently, is a big part of what we talk about here on the show, Amplify Your Marketing Message. And I'm excited to bring our guest in today. He is a gentleman who is all about letting us win in a bigger way, and he's going to help guide us to do it. So please give a very warm welcome to our guest today. This is Mr. G.M. Ryerson. Welcome. Welcome.
Thanks, Christine. How are you this morning?
I am very, very, very well. How about you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Excellent. So let's talk about this, because success is defined by every individual differently, and yet success often is a mirage. Why is that? And what are you seeing in the marketplace right now with humans all over the planet?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I find often people are trying to live up to somebody else's expectations and don't really have a clear North Star of what success looks like for them. And the great examples you'll see is my family expects me to be a doctor, or I decided to go into this because I wanted to make X amount of dollars. Well, that's cool, but is it actually what you wanted to do? And it sounds like such a basic question, but I find often people don't ask themselves, is what I'm doing, does it actually fulfill me? Is it aligned with what I want? And I'll be the first to fall on the sword. I've built companies that I thought, awesome. Again, the family's making a ton of money, and you know what? I'm miserable. I'm on the road all the time. I'm not around my kids. I'm, not taking care of myself. And these are all choices, right? I made the choice to build this company, or I made the choice to do whatever thing, but it doesn't mean that it was the right choice. So you're right. Success literally it's different for every single person. And it's really for you to look inward and say, what do I want? And if this doesn't align, be okay with saying, you know what, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm going to pursue something different. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life. We have these choices if we're courageous enough to take them.
And it is evolutionary, because when we start the pathway, you're right, we have this imagination of what success will look like. And perhaps even for a time it serves us. And we're like, this is what I wanted. And I did have some hallmarkers, but there are moments, crossroads, if you will, where we say, is it still serving us? And I think, to your point, I believe in elegant simplicity. I believe business is not complicated. I believe life is not complicated. It is important we slow down to say, is this what I want now? Because that may change from external factors, change for the enlightenment journey you might be on from personal development. It's okay to evolve, my friends. Welcome to the human ride.
Yeah, I love that. The now, that's such an important word. Like something that was serving you 5 years ago, where you were really into it, you changed and you upgraded, and you got into, your kids are off to college now, as mine, my oldest is. And there are just things that change, and it's okay to change with it. But I see that scares people all the time. They pigeonhole themselves like, well, this is the career I built and I have to stay that way. Look, I'm not suggesting you don't, but if it's not making you happy, if you're not really putting everything into it, perhaps pursue something else, because life is pretty short. You may as well enjoy it.
What do we do when we wake up to that real truth? And again, that's often, to me, it's always a moment where I'm looking in the mirror, brushing my teeth, and it's like, who am I looking at? And who do I want to be? And how do I want to live? But where do we actually start if we're standing at that crossroads and our heart is palpitating? We're thinking, oh, wow.
I think the first, yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the first thing I would say is just give yourself grace to be okay with the fact that, oh my gosh, this business I created or this relationship I'm in, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. That's okay, right? And then own the fact that you made these choices. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Second company for me, It was miserable. 6 years, literally every single day I woke up and I didn't want to go to that job. And we were making a ton of money. It wasn't anything to do with that, but I was making that choice. And the moment I actually looked in the mirror and said, "You know what? You're making this choice to be in this. You can also make the choice to do something else." There's such an empowering feeling that goes into it. I'm not suggesting it's easy, right?
Mhm.
Because you have so
Thankfully.
much tied into it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But just look and owning it and saying that's okay. And I'm okay with doing something different. That mindset is very, very difficult for some. For some, it's easy. They're used to change, and that's cool. But I know for me at that time, that was a big thing to just look, own my responsibilities. These are my choices. And then be okay, give myself the grace to say, okay, cool. What do I want? And start really looking internal for what that is.
You had an interesting comment when we were chatting before we came on screen here, and it's about this idea that you don't need a strategy. You need a standard. And I want to talk this conversation around standards because I know I have fascinating conversations with fellow entrepreneurs around, do we have a standard and is it high enough? So let's talk about this because people are going to go, ooh, that word. And I'm like, yes, we're really going there.
I find often strategy is used all the time, especially in business. It's this strategy, it's that strategy. But if that strategy goes against your non negotiables or your standards, it doesn't matter how great it is. It will repel you. You will absolutely be miserable when you do it. And I've made this mistake so many times. I'll be the first to fall on the sword and be like, oh my gosh, that strategy sounds amazing. Oh, that means I'm going to be on the road 3 weeks out of the month. Well, maybe that's not the strategy that makes sense for my non-negotiables, because my non-negotiable is freedom of time, freedom of choice, freedom to create and make whatever I want. And if I'm on the road constantly, I can't do that. That takes away my freedom of being with my kids. It takes away the freedom of going to their ball games. So the strategy may be incredible to build the business, but it's going against my standards or against my non-negotiables. That's where you need to slow down and say, you know what? That might be a great strategy, but that doesn't work for what I'm looking for. Ultimately, my non-negotiables are, again, for me, it's freedom. It's love, it's fun, happy, healthy, wealthy are really the three. I look at those things, and if any of those things get in the way of those, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. I'm not going to do it. Now, I will say there are seasons of life where there are times that, okay, maybe I need to grind a little bit more. I need to travel a little bit more. That's fine, just as long as it doesn't become systemic and now this is all I'm doing is on the road. So that might be an example that would help people go, "Oh, that strategy may make sense, but it's actually tearing me apart inside, and it's tearing away from what's really important to me."
Well, there is an interesting mix between short-term and long-term destinations, right? And I love the word non-negotiables. We use it a lot as well. It's like, what are the principles that guide us, that build a life that feels like oxygen, not just build a business that feels like oxygen, build a life that feels like oxygen. And recognizing that to have the outcome, there is a journey to be taken. How you choose the journey is a personal decision. And it is influenced by effort, reward, mistakes, great wins, people, unexpected opportunities. And I love that you indicate to us that you can choose your standard, you can flex your standard, and you can stand very firm in your standard. And how do you help people actually navigate that? Because one thing we are all is impatient about having it all right now.
Yeah, again, I think you have to have your North Star. Where am I trying to go? What am I trying to accomplish? And there's a great book called The Gap and the Gain, and Dan Sullivan and I think it's Ben Hardy that wrote it. It's a simple idea, right? You can always look at the gap, like this is where I need to get to. Let's say I want to make $10 million this year, and there's this gap. I'm at, let's say, $2 million. I have an $8 million gap. Or you could look at, you know what? I've gained $2 million, and last year I was at 500,000. So you've actually increased. And the point of this is, what are you actually focusing on?
Mm.
Are you focusing on what you are gaining in understanding and learning in creation and connections, or are you constantly looking at what I don't have? And I think that's the part that people sometimes miss when we're so goal oriented. Again, my company's called Let's Go Win. I understand, guys. I love winning. I absolutely do. And here's the thing, I'm also okay with failing on a daily basis because I'm looking at what am I gaining, not what the gap is. And so I think if people can really slow down and say, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What is my North Star? That always helps bring you back to, okay, this is really what I'm trying to accomplish. This is what's important to me. And I think it's easy to get lost because a lot of things happen in a month. A lot of things happen in a week. So it's always good to sit back and reflect on, am I really where I want to be? Are we doing what we want to do? Are we, making strides towards whatever that may be? And oftentimes you're going to get some great answers. But if you're looking at, oh, a year from now, yeah, you're probably far behind. We're in April. So your goal in the end of December, yeah, you got a ways to go. But what have you done thus far? How is um the gap or the gain, excuse me, going for you?
It is important that we audit this. And so I'm curious for you because we can drift to your point. Our focus is one of the hardest pieces of now with all of the AI. Focus has become increasingly harder. And I'm wondering if you have, whether it's rituals, best practices that you do to actually do take the moment to evaluate the gap and the gain. What do you do personally?
Yeah, so I have four non-negotiables every morning that keep me grounded, and then I have a process that I do every evening. They're very simple. So I do 11 minutes of yoga, 11 minutes of meditation, 11 minutes breath work, and 7 minutes of qigong. That is my non-negotiable. That is my sacred time. No one gets in that 40 minutes. That is mine. That keeps me grounded and allows me to show up as the best version of me. In the evening time, I have my journal, which happens to be right next to me because I was writing in it this morning. And that allows me to reflect on, how did the day go? How did I show up? Did I actually do what I set out to do this morning? And again, it's not to judge, it's rather to just sit back and reflect and say, am I actually pursuing what I want to pursue? Am I doing the things, or is this the wrong goal altogether? Which oftentimes you'll find if you're resisting a lot, maybe it's just not the right time. And so those two things in the morning and in the evening just allow me to stay present, to say, you know what, I am in the right place. I am making strides in the right direction. Without it, it's amazing how quickly you're like, oh my gosh, I just what we're halfway through the month and what happened? I didn't accomplish anything I wanted to do. That's because you didn't slow down just to check in and say, yeah, I'm on course, or I need to shift. So those are the things that I do to keep me grounded.
I appreciate you sharing that. It's so important to recognize to have what you want, you must measure where you're at and spend time in the vision of, am I living in the non-negotiables? And that is, I always think there's a really interesting take that we have. Many of us hate the word accountability. And I remember many years ago meeting an incredible business owner, and she said something to me that was really profound. It lingers to this day. Accountability, if you go back to the Latin word of it, is just measurement. There's no judgment part of it. So to your point, I'm not judging myself. I'm taking stock. I'm having the discipline. And guess what? I also then have immediate places for course correction, which means I love my life more in the short term and in the momentum I build step by step. So you believe that people are interested in getting what they want, but they're not always committed to it. How come this exists? Because this is exactly the gap in the gain. What's
Yeah,
the difference, and
it's
how do we know if that's us?
such an interesting question. I love this because so often I'll give an example. Uh, January 1st, you hear people do New Year's resolutions. And those that are interested say, you know what, I want to lose 30 pounds. And they say it out loud. And so they're interested in doing it. The committed ones, they actually write it down. And they write down, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Here's my plan. How? The really committed ones then take that piece of paper and they put it in their bathroom mirror. And the reason this is important, the difference between being interested, like just saying it out loud, or looking at it every single day, the committed ones, you're 80% more likely to accomplish that goal just by writing it down and putting it in your bathroom mirror. That commitment is so much different than just haphazardly saying, yeah, I'm interested in losing 30 pounds. So it's such a small act. It just writing it down and looking at it every single day. And yet, if people listening right now, and again, guys, this isn't a judgment, but how often have you looked at your goals? How often did you look at what you really said you were committed to at the beginning of your month, of your year? And oftentimes, it's I had that. Oh yeah, I put it in the drawer somewhere. Yeah, that's the challenge because life is going to happen. Your dog's going to die. Your girlfriend's going to break up with you. The truck's going to break down. Like name the country song, it's going to play, and that's what's going to derail you from actually accomplishing your goals. The committed ones go through all that, but they're so focused because they can see them on a daily basis. So it is a simple act, but I often see the interested ones, I didn't lose the weight. I don't know why. The committed ones that wrote it down, looked at it, actually did the actions, I they lost the weight and they're happy. So it's a simple act, but oftentimes people don't do it.
No, they really don't. And the results prove it. And there is an honesty of that moment. So take the insight that JM is saying and write down your goals. Make sure there's proximity to them. And it isn't to set it and forget it, because your set it and forget it is the problem. But if you have non-negotiables and you say, am I moving in the direction? Am I auditing how this is performing? Your results will be more satisfactory and less of a gap than maybe they are today. And I love this idea. I always tell my clients, you have to be committed past the point of convenience in order to create momentum.
It's a great saying and absolutely correct. Look, it's never going to be perfect. That's the other thing, right? If we wait for it to be perfect, it's never going to happen. Life will happen, adversity will strike you. But if you're really committed, none of that matters.
And it doesn't mean that we don't adjust speeds, but we do also take stock of, to your point, intentionality, I think, is the key to this. And that way we really have a life on paper that looks as good in real life because it's congruent. It is in sync. It's working in momentum together. I'm curious for you and your business, what's working right now for you to support people? Because we get this intellectually, and I love this simplicity of this, but we suck at simple because the world is selling us complexity. So what's working for you right now in your business, and how do you see momentum in the business to help us? Because truthfully, I know many in the audience will say, I got this, but I'm still lost and I'm distracted and I'm not winning. How do we win more?
Yeah, so I actually every company I advise, I help them with the one sheet. And it is literally the most simple thing in the world, and yet most companies don't have it. It is being put into the app 20 years in the making, Christine, that I have been thinking and working and all this content. And because of incredible technology and amazing partners that I'm with, I will have the app launched by May 1st. So whenever this comes out, yes, yes, thank you. And what's so cool is these are tools that I've been using for years, and people that coach with me one on one, they get these tools, but it wasn't always readily available to everyone, and now it's going to be. So the Win Performance platform, based the Let's Go Win app, all of these things I talked about are right in there and so user friendly. So I'm very, very excited for people to get a chance to get in there and really again upgrade your life. Nothing's wrong with it, but if you want a little bit better, this app's going to absolutely help you get there.
I love this. So I also want to just highlight one thing you said for everybody who's feeling like a work in progress. It takes a runway to build momentum. It takes, you said, many years in the making to get this app, many years of self-reflection to course correct. This is permission to evolve. This is permission to also seek the support because the light bulb went off and said, I want to improve what I have. It's not saying I hate what I have. It's saying there is something more and I am hungry to pursue it. So how do people connect to you, to what you do, and to the Let's Go Win, both community and the app that will be launching this spring?
Yeah, letsgowin.com is the easiest place to find me. And if you put in Let's Go Win on any social media platform, you'll find me as well. But I really do hope people get a chance. There's a ton of free resources, both on the website and on the app. But the whole idea is to inspire people to live their best lives. So come be a part of the community. It's a lot of people talking about how to, upgrade their lives, how to win a little bit more. And we'd love for people to take that opportunity.
So audience, please go do that. And so I want to ask you one final thing is, what does winning mean for you today, right now? with this launch ahead, with this amazing energy that's around it. But what does winning look like today in your world?
To be where my feet are. One of the things that I've often said is past is pain, future is anxiety, presence is everything. And as busy as it is, I mean, literally, I'm working on 5 different companies right now, and it's a lot, but to really be present in that moment. So when I'm done with my workday, I'm present with my family. When I am on with you, I'm 100% with you. That has 100% just been a life altering in a great way. So I be where your feet are. People have heard that saying, but when you really stop and think about it, just be there. So, and thank you, Christine. You host an incredible show, and I'm just so humbled to be a part of it.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to have you here. This is your invitation. I think that's for all those that know me well, that's a Post-it note moment. Write it on your space. Be where your feet are and slow down to have the intentionality to win in every facet of your life. I think one of the most important things I'm hearing from what you brought and the expertise that you share to the world is it is not about trading anymore. It is about expanding to really choose. I live my non-negotiables and life feels awesome. And my guys, that's our invitation from JM and I today to go do that. Thanks for being our guest today, everyone. This has been Amplify Your Marketing Message. We will see you in our next episode. Have a great week. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform so you don't miss an episode. And visit Christine Campbell Rapin /podcast to get a source on how to map your marketing message on our next episode.